Ambulza, and you're just saying things, and it's like make butt farts or whatever out of it. You just say the stupid shit because sometimes it gets you where you need to go. Hey, welcome to episode 191 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Nick. I'm here with Blake.
Hey, Nick.
And Paul. Oh yeah, Paul's not here. Okay, no Paul today.
This is a first for the podcast.
Two cast. Have you ever? I've been away from the podcast.
I've always had I've either had a third person or we just skipped the week.
Yeah.
And this
Are
year,
you nervous? Now that there's just two
a little bit, because like I've got to fill that hour, man.
I think if we leave enough awkward pauses, it'll be fine.
What we should do, actually, you know what? We should leave in enough awkward pauses. Yep. Then before we send the podcast out, we'll send the tape to Paul. He can fill in his parts. And then he can send it back to me, and then we'll put it out.
It's gonna be a lot of like producer style shouts. What? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Another one.
It's great.
Cool.
All
right. So we read questions at the start.
Yep.
Shall we read some questions?
Let's read some questions.
Okay. This is from Aiden Sichi 9327. Holy expletive! Are we talking about from soft software games again? Oh, from soft software games. Okay,
let me clarify. Software games.
Soft software is weird. From soft software, somehow less weird. How bad is the balancing in Elden Ring? Am I right? I picked up Reduvia Dagger in the first zone, maxed arcane points, and spent the rest of the game killing bosses during their spawn animations before they could do anything at all until the very, very final boss, who was immune to bleed.
Yeah.
Blake, why?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you telling me that the final boss was immune to bleed, and I was like, well, what the hell? That was my whole build was bleed related. And it was not an easy time either. It was still hard slog going through that game with a bleed build. And then to hear that, oh, actually the final boss is immune to bleed. I'm like, great.
Yep. So I guess you just can't beat the game because you made a choice with information you literally couldn't have had if you were playing legitimately.
Yeah.
Okay. He also has two questions. What were some of the influences for the different factions / locations in Act 2? I recognize the towers with desiccated bodies as being vaguely Zoroastrian, but I'd love to hear about any other influences / inspirations. And what's the story with the mercenary being obsessed with elevators?
I didn't know if he was obsessed with elevators. Because I play a merc. I didn't notice if he was saying stuff on elevators. Maybe he was.
That all happened after I left, so I don't know anything about that.
I think if he was obsessed with elevators, it's because we are obsessed with elevators, because having elevator tech in the game was a new cool thing.
Yeah.
And we would just say, whoa, look at this, we've got elevators. Whoa. So if the merc does say stuff, it's probably literally us just being like, hey, look at these elevators.
Someone should point out these elevators. Hey, narrative.
This took a surprisingly lot amount of work to get these elevators working.
The towers, I believe, are indeed based on like Zoroastrian sky burials. Although I don't think it's specifically Zoroastrian. I think sky burials.
Yeah, it's just sky burials in general. But yeah, it's definitely that vibe. And the towers themselves, I think, are more based on. There was a PoE1 map. What is it? Towers of
Pillars of Arun.
Pillars of Arun. Yeah. It was more based on that.
Yes.
And then that led into, what do they do at the top of these towers? Oh, it can be like a burial thing. So it then ended up informing the entire area as this, like, basically their graveyard.
Yes.
They go through, and it's like the higher, supposed to be the higher you're buried, the higher you're placed, the better. But I don't think there's even any dead bodies on the second level.
There are bones, from what I remember.
And they probably just fall down from the top, I think.
On the second level.
Yeah, on the second level.
There aren't dead bodies, but there are some undead monsters.
Yeah.
I will say it's interesting. as someone who now separated from that project, trying to mentally unify the like there's some zombies, but there's also some living dudes, and they're just kind of hanging out. Like on the second level, it's mostly zombies, and then on the third level, it's mostly living dudes.
Yeah,
and it's like,
there are mostly
how did
living
those guys
dudes
get
on
up
the
there?
second. Yeah.
How'd you get up
Well,
there?
there's stairways up there. Like
Yeah, but how did they get up there without the zombies eating them, or without them killing the zombies? Answer that, Blake.
They've formed a coexistence.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a sky burial thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I was somewhat involved in Act 2's storytelling, but some of it has changed since I left. Some of the characters had more significant parts in older drafts, and some of the reveals in Act 2 were going to happen later originally.
Yeah, there was a bunch of shifting stuff around. Like I remember just something minor of the perennial king is there, and he's like, haha, you can't catch us, basically.
Yeah.
And then Hoon's off on the dreadnought.
Yeah.
We just wanted another. My understanding was we just wanted another time where the dreadnought was clearly visible.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you only see it in the gates, and it's easy to miss because you're fighting a boss.
Yeah.
And so it's like before the boss fight, you can see it.
Yeah.
And you clearly see the beast at the back thrashing around and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the Mastodon Badlands. I don't remember what the inspiration for that was.
I don't know what that. I think it was. I honestly think it was just as simple as like Elephant Graveyard. I don't think there was anything particular about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically just an elephant graveyard, like from Lion King.
When I was working there, I don't think there was a mines, like the quarry mine area, like it's like one of the second or third zone you kind of enter in. Actually, I don't think that was even a thing when I worked there. That had been there for a long time, but that used to be like almost one of the last areas. You used to go there last, right? Maybe that was.
And the burial towers used to be in the middle of the act.
I remember that.
Yeah. So stuff got shuffled around.
Yep.
There was a whole zone that, because of this shuffling, ended up kind of on the cutting room floor. And the thing is, it was such an awesome ass zone, but it just didn't fit narratively anymore in there.
Which one was it?
It was a place called Dreadnought's Wake. And it was a place where
that's right. It was big. It was from what I remember, it was just a desert area with tracks running through it, right?
Yes, but it was called Dreadnought's Wake, but it was also called the Oasis.
Yes, it had water,
and it had water, but that water had turned to like sludge, and there were these like big slug things on there that were basically like seals that you'd see on rocks out in the a colony of seals, but it's this colony of like weird slug things.
Yeah.
That area ended up on the cutting room floor, but it was so cool, and it was done. It was like completely finished. We put it in as a map.
Nice.
So it's in the game now as a map. It'll be cool to bring it back somewhere in the level, in the actual story, but I don't know. But what's cool with GGG, I suppose, is anything that basically gets cut or any idea that was like,
throw it in maps.
Yeah, put it in as a map. Put it in as a map. There's areas that were completely changed, like the treasure vault. The one with the big pot that tips out the molten gold and that.
Yes.
That area was completely redesigned. Completely redesigned. But the area it was before was completely finished.
Okay.
So
that's a map now.
So that's a map now.
A Mongolian asks, did any of you play Noita? If not, I highly recommend checking it out. It immediately came to mind when you started talking about Caves of Qud. It's a 2D side-scroller with roguelike elements. On surface, it's quite simple with quite interesting ways of customizing the weapons. However, there's enormous amounts of hidden stuff, bosses, mechanics, quests, and so on. You can finish the game and get the end credits, but in reality, you just finished the tutorial. At that point, you can start uncovering all the secrets. Warning, it's quite difficult. I haven't played it. I plan to get it because I know a bit about it, and it does sound really interesting and fun. Do you know anything about it?
I know only that you play as a wizard, right?
Yeah, you have a wand.
Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
wand.
And you can customize the wand to do all sorts of
Yeah,
crazy things.
I have seen some gameplay, and it does look pretty
And
hectic.
the environment is 100% destructible,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not even destructible necessarily. It
Damageable,
has physics.
Yeah.
So my understanding is things like you can set fire to certain elements, and the cave can fill with smoke, and you can suffocate.
Ah, okay.
Like every pixel can
Yeah.
change to another pixel.
It looks a little bit like Terraria, right?
Only in, I mean, yes and no.
Aesthetically,
in that
sort of?
it is pixelated, and the environments have physics and are
Yeah.
destructible. But Terraria is like grid based, and I guess in this sense, because it's pixel based, it is.
Oh, but the grid is smaller.
The grid is larger than the pixel.
Okay.
In Noita, the grid is a pixel.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And whereas Terraria, it's like, if you mine sand, the sand can flow, or if you cause the water to flow, the water will just sort of flow downwards. In Noita, I think if the physical properties of things can change based on interactions. That happens a little bit in Terraria, but I think in Noita it is like very fleshed out and kind of core to its mechanics. It means things like you can build a super crazy wand that does all these crazy things, ricochets around the room, blah 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 blah, and causes a cave in that kills you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Start again.
I like that. Those like cascading effects that you
Yes.
don't plan for, and you're just like, oh no, this wand I've made is actually too dangerous to really use.
Yes.
That's cool.
I'll skip down to a shorter one. This is from oh no, we've read that one out before.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think we've got some very, very long ones that I'm not going to get into right now. But let's talk about some games we've been playing.
Right. Do you want to talk about Caves of Cud? Because I've been playing a little bit as well.
I'm very excited to talk about Caves.
I've not
finally someone who has played it.
I have not encountered any of the absolute nutcase stuff that you have.
Yeah.
But I started playing as a gunslinger.
Yep.
I started playing on not the hardest difficulty, which is what you're on, or normal, right? Where you have one life and that's it.
Yep.
I'm playing on the step down from that, which is called role playing.
Yep.
Which you can, it's like checkpointed in town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that when you die, you respawn in town, but I've not died yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, I believe that the way it works is it will respawn you in town prior to anything you'd done before you died.
Oh, okay. So so it is like a literal checkpoint, like a save point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you go to town, it saves.
I see.
And
then,
until you reach another town.
Yeah, I get it.
You are at the whims of fate.
Yep. I mean, I like that's hard enough because towns seem
I am
pretty.
Considering playing on that mode.
I think I would, because I would hate to have to keep replaying that same town over and over, because
I've done Joppa.
It's the same every time,
times.
right? It's the same every time, or
yeah,
more or less,
pretty
right?
much.
Like you still get the same quests and all that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't know if it's Joppa or Yoppa, however you pronounce it.
Joppa up and
there's sort of a town that is sort of designated as the starter town, and it is the most concrete start of any of the towns. Like there are other places you can start, but this one has a specific quest that takes you to actually a few specific quests that take you to a few specific locations, and will kind of urge you towards the main storyline. Whereas other ones might just be like, could you go and find a special thing in a special place? And those things are randomized.
Yep. That's definitely seems like the more advanced playthrough.
Yeah,
when you already know what you're doing.
I've done the Joppa start so many times at this point. I know where to click. I know what buttons to press to get through all the quests. I've probably started that 50 to 100 times.
Oh my god.
And so I don't begrudge you wanting to avoid that.
Well, the reason, I mean,
however, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I found an exploit.
Oh.
You can play on the permadeath mode without permanent death actually affecting you.
How?
So the way the game works, and I haven't Googled to see. I'm assuming other people know this, but I haven't Googled to check. But the way the game works, and this is true for a lot of roguelikes, they will save the state of your character at only specific points.
Yeah.
So, for example, and this is something I like to talk about. I would like to talk about a little bit because it touches on design and designer intent. In in Caves of Cud, if you die, it says your character has died.
Yeah.
And you press enter or whatever, and then it shows you sort of a wrap-up screen.
Okay.
And then you press enter or whatever, and it takes you to the menu screen.
Yeah.
The game saves when you go to the menu screen.
Okay.
It doesn't save when you die or when it's showing you the wrap-up. So you can Alt F4 out
and reload.
And reload, and it will take you to a checkpoint wherever that was.
Oh, right. So
that could be ages ago, or it could be moments ago.
Interesting. So it does checkpoint, but it never uses
checkpoint because you can close the game, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So there's some sort of saving system that happens, and basically what happens is if you die, it moves that save or it invalidates that save or whatever it is, only when you hit the menu screen.
Right.
Now other games have different ways of tackling this problem. There's a game called Peglin, which I've talked about in the past, which I really enjoy, and and it's another roguelite. If you die, as soon as you die, in the middle of the combat screen or whatever, it saves.
Oh.
And so if you try to go to the menu screen, your character is gone. You have to start again. If you exit out the hit before you die, like you think, I don't think I can beat this, exit out, it will take you to the start of that fight. So you can try again.
Okay, yeah.
Slay the Spire does something really interesting. If you exit out of a fight because you lose, you can load it again.
Yeah.
And you can try it again.
Yeah.
But I believe somewhere it saves that you have tried this.
Oh.
And then if you exit out again, it resets your character.
Whoa.
So they are like, you get one try.
Wow.
You get one extra try. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
That is one where I haven't researched any of this.
Yeah.
This is just all from played experience.
Whoa.
My assumption is they are aware of the exploit. They give players one redo, one mulligan.
Yeah.
And then they say, no, start again. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But there's
can you do that? So can you literally only do that once in the entire playthrough, or is it like per
That's a
fight?
good question. I'm not sure. I don't know.
So if you did it on a fight and you ended up winning that fight, could you do it again?
Yeah.
Or is that it?
I don't know. I think it probably is. You can do it again. I think it is a case of like they flag the specific state of that save,
right?
And that flag is probably reset. But again, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I have tested that, and that was the outcome.
I
don't know for sure. But I think it's interesting that this is a problem that multiple games face.
Yeah.
Games where permadeath is a feature, and there is a technical hurdle, which is the game has to save a state at some point.
Yeah.
And that is exploitable. And different developers have taken different tactics for tackling it. And it seems that in the case of Slay the Spire, it's very intentional. And in the case of, say, Peglin, it is punishing, but not without a slight workaround.
Yeah.
And in the case of Caves of Cud, either they've just overlooked it,
yeah,
or they're like, whatever, who cares? Have fun.
Yeah. Because I mean, they already give you they already have a version of the game where permadeath is not a thing. So maybe they're just like, if you use this, then whatever. But why are you even bothering playing it on permadeath if you're using it? Because there's literally another option in the game to do that.
There's a version of the game where you basically don't fight anybody.
I thought about that. That sounds like a very interesting. Where you're just exploring around.
Yeah, and it's all sort of about talking and so you're playing a gunslinger.
Yeah, so I'm playing a gunslinger. Oh man, super easy. I don't know why you had a problem with this game. I'm just like shooting stuff constantly.
Yeah.
Until I ran out of bullets.
Yeah.
And then I went to buy more bullets, and they had like 3 bullets for sale.
Yep.
And I was like, here's a problem.
Yep.
But I'd picked up some weapon. I picked up a sword and some armor.
Yep.
And I'm like doing pretty good fighting the little snapjaw guys.
Yep.
Even the armored ones I've been like dealing with pretty well.
Yep.
And basically I'm on a hunt for bullets.
Yep.
Because I want bullets back.
You're basically not going to find many bullets, if any, from the snapjaws. But if you start going down into those caves, those famous caves of Cud,
you'll
encounter there's people called Arco scavengers or something like
Yeah.
that. Arcanauts, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
And they're basically little like tech scavengers,
Right.
and that almost all of them will trade with you,
Yeah.
and almost all of them carry some bullets.
Ah, nice.
And the bullets are
great.
very cheap,
Cool.
usually like a few cents of a
Yeah.
dram.
Yeah.
The problem, of course, being that you can't split a dram of water.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
for those who don't know
yeah.
anything about Caves of Cud, water is your currency, and it's measured in drams.
Yeah.
And prices can have fractions of drams or decimals of
Yeah.
drams, and they will round up or down.
I literally only just noticed that today that they were rounding up.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
They don't want you to go up to a vendor and be like, I want 1 cent of bullets,
Yeah.
and I'll take them for free.
Yeah. No,
Unless you want to kill them.
No, I mean,
In which case,
But
also
then-
that's valid.
but then I think it's funny that it just shows it in as money
Yeah.
with the dollar sign as if it's money, but then actually you can only
Yeah.
exchange
some
whole
technical
dollars.
limits. Yeah.
Basically. So it's like, here's something for 30 cents, but it'll be like $1 if
Yeah.
you
Well,
so is
like,
it's
obviously
really
you can't split a liquid into portions.
yeah, it's impossible. Famously.
Can't be done. That's why everything is measured in drams in real life.
Yeah. But that's funny that I only just realized that today when I was like, oh, this thing is like, I was like, I don't know, 20 something, 29 something, whatever cents. And it was like, exchange 30. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. There are some interesting things. So the weight of water
Yeah.
can become a problem later.
Oh.
Like I've been in cases where I'm carrying around $600 basically,
yeah.
and that is like 200 kilos
How-
of water or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, because it does have weight on it. Yeah.
So I've got like 10 water skins and they're all full.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling to pick up anything.
Yeah.
So the workaround for that is there are certain goods with yellow prices. You may have seen them.
Oh, yes, I have.
Those goods tend to buy and sell for the same price everywhere.
Oh. that's
So
cool.
you can buy, for example, a copper nugget for
Yeah.
10 drams, and you can sell a copper nugget for 10 drams.
Yep.
And the weight of a copper nugget is 1 pound,
Mm.
whereas like 4 drams is 1 pound
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So you can essentially use trade goods to downsize your weight without compromising the value of what you're carrying.
Yep. I see.
It's quite cool.
Things like copper nuggets, is there any reason to hold on to them? Is there crafting or anything like that? Or
There is crafting. I don't know off the top of my head if copper nuggets are used.
yeah.
But the reason you would hold on to them is because they weigh less than the
Yeah,
value of
yeah,
the water that they
I
are
get it.
worth.
Yeah.
And you can find things that are worth
That's really cool.
a
to
lot
know.
more and way less. So
Yeah.
like gems
Yeah.
will be worth like 100 or 200 drams
Yeah.
and weigh a pound.
Okay. I think I've got a book that is like 100.
Books are,
I
yes.
think.
Now, books are interesting
Yeah.
because books can be bought and sold for a lot of value.
Yeah.
They weigh a little bit. You can read them.
Yeah.
Yellow books may contain valuable information.
Yeah.
White books generally are gibberish.
Okay.
However, they can also contain valuable information.
Yep.
But there is a now we're getting to spoiler territory. Do you want me to spoil some things?
Ooh. How big of a spoiler? Well, how
It's
far
not-
through are you? You're not. You can't be that.
My
far.
character died,
Yeah.
but I was pretty far.
Okay.
I had I was into like I was deep into a second dungeon,
Okay.
or third dungeon. I was sort of getting towards the end game.
Oh. Okay.
My character was like level 20 or 30 or something like that.
Damn. Okay.
And then I went into a place where I had to talk to some friendly NPCs, except I guess through my actions they were no longer friendly,
Oh.
and
yeah,
they all
yeah,
swarmed
yeah.
me and killed
Yep.
me.
Yep.
And I thought,
Yeah.
actually, you know what happened? I didn't get swarmed and killed. They teleported me 27 levels underground.
Oh my god.
And I thought, I'll play it until I die. I'm not
Mm.
going to use my exploit.
Wow.
Even though I've used it a lot.
Yep.
to be perfectly honest, I used it a lot. But I let that. I retired that character
yeah.
forcefully.
Retired. Yeah. He's living in a home now.
It's crazy. You can get pretty darn strong.
Yeah.
The reason that character was so strong is because I got teleported. I stepped inside a clam a few times
Yeah.
and made it into this crazy jungle where massive gorillas were dealing huge amounts of damage.
Whoa.
But I found crysteel daggers.
Oh.
They're like green. They're not the highest tier weapon,
Yeah.
but they're pretty close to the highest
Wow.
kind of tier weapon.
Yep. Yep.
They do like 1d10 damage as a sort of a base
Okay.
roll, and they have like really high penetration.
Neat.
It's very strong.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, this is great. If I can make it back to society without dying,
Yeah.
I might be set.
Yeah.
And I died a bunch, but I kept exploiting. And,
Ah.
and then I went back on my merry way.
Oh man. So a couple things.
Yes.
So we're talking about books and the knowledge stuff.
Yes.
Something that I just wanted to mention that I thought was like super cool.
Yeah.
Right. When you find interesting knowledge, it will come up with a thing saying that you've written that in your journal, right?
Yes.
I had a couple of weapons on me,
Uh-huh.
and I thought they were just regular weapons. And then I was like, I wonder. I was comparing them, and then noticed that one of them
painted and this one's engraved.
one was painted, one was engraved, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
I should look at these.
yeah, and I just looked at them and was like, okay, cool, that's pretty cool. It's got some like information and stuff in there.
Yep.
And then when I close my inventory, this thing comes up saying like,
Add this to your journal.
and I was like, oh, that's really cool. That means I should look at almost every item in this game.
Yes. So, I mentioned off the podcast that there's an auto explore button,
Yeah,
and you were like, I hate it.
I pressed it once and my character like flew all over the place, and I
Yeah.
didn't know what was going on.
The way it works is it is just trying to reveal every tile on
Yeah.
the screen.
Yeah,
What it also does, and this is why I really love auto explore, especially
Yeah.
when you've played CUD as much as I have.
Yeah.
You get to the point where there are a lot of things you want to look at and collect,
yeah.
and if you hit auto explore, it looks at everything that you haven't looked at before.
Oh,
That will contain relevant information. So,
Yeah.
for example, so the same lore can appear in multiple places.
yeah.
And if you've already recorded that lore, it won't look there.
Mm.
But if there's a statue in the area and you hit auto explore and you've never looked at that kind of statue before,
Yeah.
he'll look at it. You'll get that lore info, and
Yeah,
he'll
yeah,
move on to
yeah.
the next thing.
Cool.
He'll also collect items, or at least go to chests and things that can be opened to be collected.
It sounds like it plays the game for you.
It plays the most frustrating parts of the game for you.
Right.
Like the things that are a bit fiddly, which
Yeah.
is like walking up to a basket and looking to see if there's anything in the basket.
Yeah.
It will check if there's anything in the basket automatically. You
Yeah.
don't have to do it,
Okay.
which is great.
Yeah.
It doesn't do combat. It doesn't collect things.
What happens
that-
if it? What happens with the combat when you're in auto explore?
it stops auto explore?
It just stops,
just
and then
walks.
you're in combat.
But
But like, this is what I don't like.
it doesn't put you in combat.
Oh, it doesn't?
It just if there's an enemy on screen,
Oh, okay.
it'll be like
That's all right then.
someone's appeared.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it.
Okay.
It also won't collect things that either have a weight
Yeah.
or would I think necessarily send you over your weight limit.
Right.
If you would normally collect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But things like fresh water, it'll auto collect. It will
Oh, yeah.
auto collect a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That is really
Yeah.
useful.
I think the only reason I don't like it is probably because I'm too early in the game,
Yes.
where I don't.
You don't feel annoyed by it yet.
Yeah, I don't. I don't understand things enough.
Yeah.
To be comfortable just letting it do it.
Fully agree and fully understand.
In a way, I mean, Stellaris has an auto explore that I usually don't use until later on as
Yeah.
well. In that same way that it's like I want to know exactly what I'm doing, and then at a certain point, I'm like, I don't care, just explore everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear some of the things that happened to my character before?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll
sorry,
tell
go
you
ahead.
about my character first. Yeah, he's a gunslinger guy. I've run out of bullets. I've got a sword, and I'm going around dealing. I'm surviving all right.
Yep.
But I didn't even realize until probably like an hour or more into it that my character is actually a bird person.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea.
You must have chosen the wings mutation.
I think yes, I did probably somewhere at the start
Yep.
because I chose mutant,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Did you choose an archetype or did you build your own character?
No, I chose an archetype.
Yeah. So I think the gunslinger archetype might come with wings. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't realize for ages that I could fly.
Yeah.
There's a button down the bottom that says fly.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know what that does.
Take off, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, take off. And I was like, I don't know what that does.
Yeah.
I don't know what a lot of the UI does.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave that for now.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point realize, wait a minute. I realized this when I went to put on a helmet and it said, "Oh, this will remove your beak." Where I don't think it means actually remove it.
Yeah.
I mean it just covers it.
Yeah.
And I was like, beak.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wait a minute, this guy has a beak. He has wings.
Uh-huh.
This is a bird person.
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that for the whole game.
Yeah.
And then when I did, I was like, I'm flying everywhere, shooting guns from the air.
Yeah.
No one can hurt me.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And then the flying mechanic is, I mean, you've probably seen the flying mechanic where
You'll crash.
there's a chance for you to crash, which is pretty fun. But
You've been knocked prone.
yeah, and then you can't fly again for like so many steps.
Yeah.
Or so many turns.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I really like it. And so I've gotten into a thing where I don't fly everywhere anymore.
Yeah.
But I do walk, and then if danger, it's a good like just escape from danger.
Yes.
You know, like if I'm on a fight and I'm like, oh no, I'm on red health.
Take off.
I take off, and then nothing can get me. And then it makes it so hectic when I'm flying away and it's chasing me, and then I fall out of the sky and I have to run for a bit and fly again. It's really great.
You're gonna get a really rude awakening for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear why?
Yeah.
First of all, some things have ranged weapons.
Oh no, I haven't hit my ranged weapons, like arrows and
rocks,
there
guns,
were baboons that were throwing rocks at me.
lasers. Yep.
Yeah.
Some things fly as well.
Yes.
And then also, there are a lot of caves.
Oh, you can't. Yeah, I
fly in
did. I
caves.
literally tried that. You
Yeah.
cannot fly in caves. So I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So if you are reliant on flight,
Yeah.
and then you have to go underground, you're a bit boned.
Yep.
Which is good. I think
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
want an I win button.
Yeah.
But flying is great. Have you used the overworld much?
I've used it a little bit to get to a location up north that was past. So I had a quest to get to this Red Rock place. I didn't use the overworld for that. I just went up.
First. Yeah.
And it's only a few screens. It was fine. And then as I was looking around there, I was like, man, look at my quest for bullets. I was like, it said that I'd heard a rumor of either a township or some settlement way up to the north. So I used the map to get there. But I think it's literally just a farm. Like,
Okay.
There's like, I don't think there's anything there. It was called like something Meadows.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, it's just a farm.
Yep.
I haven't gotten lost on the map yet.
Okay.
So flying
reduces
your chance to get lost,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I started looking at the skills that you can learn. Dude, there's so many cool skills to learn, and just you can. It's this thing of it. Just seeing it makes you want to have new characters.
Yes.
You know, like you see so. Like I started off with a lot of pistol skills because you just start with pistols, and then I got a few rifle skills because I picked up a rifle from somewhere. And then I see like there's like survival skills that makes it just easier to traverse, and it lowers your chance to like get lost on the world map and all this sort of stuff. And just going through, there's like cooking skills as well, and
tinkering.
Yeah, there's so many. I'm like, oh my god, it's that thing of like, well, I know I can't have them all.
Yeah.
So
what do I do?
So it's just like, all right, I've got to, I know that I need to like specialize in some things here. But it does make you just go, oh man, I can't wait to make a new character to do this. I have started the game several times over.
Yeah.
Just as I was learning it.
Yeah.
I didn't, not from dying, just from like, okay,
all right,
something
mister,
out.
I don't die every 30 seconds.
I did
better than me.
because I did the tutorial. And it was like a little mini dungeon, and then you pop out in Joppa.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, cool. Start a new character.
Yep.
Started a new character, and then the reason I restarted, I went to a person that gave me a quest to take some little item. It was like some strange artifact or something to somewhere up north. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Then I talked to this tinkerer guy, and he's like, oh, find me a strange artifact.
Yeah, and you're like, I have one.
And then, and then it pops up saying like, oh, you've got one. And I was like, oh, where did I get this from? I'd like 100% forgotten.
Yep.
And then just gave it to him, and then he gives me another question. I was like, great. And I'm on my way north to this Red Rock place where you have another quest for. And then I was like, oh, I need to go north for this, to give this like the trinket to someone. I looked in my inventory, and I was like, I don't have a trinket. Yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute, I did have a trinket. I gave it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, restart.
It's very funny that you can.
But the fact that you can do that is very, very cool.
I actually don't think there are any negative repercussions from doing that.
Oh, really?
For the record.
Well, it was to me that was a learning point where I was like, oh, this can happen.
Yes.
So
yes.
I should I'll just restart.
Yeah.
Because I was not very far anyway.
Yeah. So that little trinket, I've restarted that game so many times.
Yeah.
He always gives you a low value trinket.
Yeah.
It's usually like did you ever have you identified it before?
I can't remember if I looked at it. I must have. It was just
there's looking at it and examining it are two different things. When you
Oh,
look at
maybe I
something,
didn't.
It'll tell you sort of what it is. But
Yeah.
if you don't know what it is, it'll tell you that.
Yeah.
If you examine it, it will identify
Oh.
in the same way that like a scroll of wisdom would.
Yeah.
As long as your intelligence is high enough. Sometimes you
Right.
make partial progress towards identifying it, and you
Yeah.
just keep trying until you identify it. And sometimes you break it,
Oh.
in which case it is just broken.
Ah.
And if you try and examine it or identify it, they'll be like, whatever it was, it's broken now, and you'll just never know what it is
That's funny.
until you find.
But can you still give that to the person that you're supposed to?
I don't remember.
It's like, hey, this guy from this town.
It was broken when I got it.
Yeah. I don't know why he gave me this broken item. Here you go.
But I don't think that there's like negative repercussions for giving away that little trinket.
Yeah. Well, you would have to get another one, right?
They're
to
all
give it.
over the place.
I have
tons and tons.
I have encountered a few.
Yeah, like artifacts.
Yeah, artifacts which I've given to that guy since.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's cool. I thought so. I think one thing that gets me is because it's going with that ASCII-ish style, old school. Especially in auto explore, you can lose track of your character because shit can just move so fast.
Yes.
That's the one thing that bugs me is like you get used to it.
Yeah.
But trying to keep track of where things are moving as you move because it's just instant. Like they were there, then there. Yeah. And if you move fast, it's just like stuff looks like it's teleporting around the place. So I've basically just been, moving fairly slowly, not like too speedily, unless I've already been through a place and I'll just like speed through it. But it's just usually one step at a time for.
Using the arrow keys.
Using the arrow keys.
Yeah.
I did play with the controller for a little while.
Oh, I haven't tried the controller.
It's not too bad, but like the arrow keys are definitely it's just easier on keyboard.
The only issue I play with arrow keys. The only issue is that you cannot move diagonally with the arrow keys without. I think you hold shift or something.
Oh,
right.
like
there is a way to move diagonally.
Yeah.
But it's awkward and janky.
Well, I'm
and
arrow keys and mouse.
Yes, that's what I do as well. It's like, I want to move out diagonally because it's turn based.
Yeah,
it does feel like there is some importance to not going like up and left.
Oh,
up and right.
yeah. Actually, good point. Good point. I actually don't move diagonally, but I will fight diagonally with the mouse. Yeah.
So moving diagonally, there can be value. Also, there are some places where the only way to continue is to move diagonally through a gap.
Oh, interesting.
Right, like when you have two walls that meet but don't have a corner.
Oh, then I could have missed stuff then.
Yeah,
I might not even realize that.
You can step through a gap where there's like no corner between two walls, and there's space on the other side.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's lots of nuance in that game, I have to say. Can I tell you some of my
yes? Now get into your insane.
Obviously, I got infected by fungal spores almost immediately, and I kept getting more and more fungal. In fact, the reason I kept getting more and more fungal is because I found a legendary tortoise, and then I befriended it, and then we went quite deep into the game together.
Oh wow!
And but he got infected by my fungal spores, and so he the specific infection I had was like during combat I can release spores.
Yeah,
and the spores will do like a little bit of damage to everybody around me.
Yep.
But I can't hold a weapon in my hand where it's infected. It was kind of a problem, except that I had like 5 or 6 hands by that point. Some of them weren't hands, some of them were technically tendrils.
Does that just come up? Does that on your character screen? You're equipping stuff. Do extra hands show up there that you can equip stuff to? Yes. Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, it's really they have a really funny labeling system. Like I had a left foot hand.
Oh my god.
Right arm hand.
Oh my god. You sound like a monstrosity.
Yes.
Oh my god.
It will basically choose a random like body part and try and attach another body part to it.
Oh my god.
And it doesn't always make sense as well. So like I've had heads coming out of my hands, for example. But anyway, so I was being followed around by this tortoise, and I thought he'd be really useful to have.
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't know if you know this, tortoises move pretty slow.
Yes.
So I would usually be in combat, and he would kind of waddle
a mile away
towards the end.
Oh my god.
Into my cloud of spores,
Yeah.
And he would take some damage and get infected by my spores.
Oh.
And then he got a fungal infection. And then suddenly, when he's in combat now, he also produces spores.
Whoa.
And so we're bouncing spores between each other. And I'm getting more and more infected by fungus.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had like 3 or 4 fungal infections. And they're all the same one. And so I'm like losing access to some of my limbs and producing more and more spores over time.
So you're losing access to limbs, but are you growing more limbs to replace?
I'm also growing
Oh my god!
Because I had chosen the unstable mutation,
Yep.
unstable gene, whatever it is. The thing that chimera, I think maybe is there's a specific mutation that when you are mutating, one of the mutations also grants you an extra limb.
Right.
And it can be risky because sometimes having an extra limb isn't useful.
Yeah.
But if you have an extra hand, it's extremely useful.
Right.
Anyway, so I got really, really infected. My turtle eventually died in a place I'm not gonna. It's a bit spoilery.
Okay. Did he die? Were you able to tell if he grew extra hands or any of this, or is it just the fungal thing?
Just the fungal thing. I don't.
Nothing else.
You can look at another character's body, but the way you do it is by dominating them.
Oh god.
There's like a psychic skill domination,
right?
Where basically you leave your body, and
yeah,
enter someone else's body and take control of them.
Wow.
For a certain number of turns.
Okay, and then you can see.
We'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute.
Wow. Okay.
But you basically gain access to their entire stat page, their inventory, their abilities, their everything.
That just means that is there all the time, right?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Every character has that.
There's so much in this game.
Yes, there's so much. So anyway, I got an infection called glot rot, and I didn't know it at first. It started saying your throat hurts.
Oh no!
And then your throat hurts more, or whatever it is, and then suddenly your tongue is bleeding.
Oh god!
And your tongue is bleeding, and then your tongue is rotted out of your mouth.
Oh my god!
And at that point, in conversation, all of my replies were.
Can you still converse?
I can start a conversation with someone, and then all of my replies are going to only.
But asking questions, you can't get any information.
Right.
Oh,
at that point, all I can say is, I can still trade with people.
Oh yeah.
But I can't. All the prices are really expensive because I have no charisma. Like I have no ego. Like the ego modifier no longer matters for purposes of trade.
Wow. Well, I mean that could also be because you're a ball of hands and limbs.
You know what? That does not actually penalize you as much as you think in this world. Anyway, there's a special book called like Corpus Chrysalis or something. I don't know. But it's one of the yellow books, and it contains cures for every fungal infection and disease in the game.
Oh yeah.
But they are randomized per game.
Oh yeah.
There's like a sort of a loose structure, but the specific ingredients and steps will change.
Yep.
I managed to cure my glot rot.
Whoa.
And the way I had to do it was I had to get a canteen specifically, not a water skin, but a canteen. I had to fill it with a specific mixture and specific proportions of blood, honey, and water.
Whoa.
And then I had to set fire to it.
Whoa.
And then I had to drink it while it was on fire.
How do you do all that? So, gee, wait, while it's on fire,
I had to drink it.
That sounds like one of those like shots from a bar or something.
Yeah. So like literally the way it works is you get like an empty canteen.
Yeah.
Fill it with a specific number of grams of each liquid. Like in the UI, there's a thing that says fill.
Yeah.
And
then it says
you choose a thing in your inventory. It says like how many grams you put it in, and it'll even warn you. There's already a liquid in there. Are you sure you want to do that?
Right.
It'll mix it. Yeah.
Oh.
And then I dropped the canteen onto a fire and waited for it to start burning.
Did you know to drop it onto a fire?
I just assumed because I've accidentally stood on fire until I was on fire.
Okay, yeah.
So like I would make a campfire and then drop it on there,
Yep.
and then after a few turns it starts to burn.
I see.
And then I picked it up and drink it. And I was
you're
cured of glot rot, but I didn't have my tongue yet.
Oh no!
But there's an injectable called Ubernostrum, which will regenerate a random limb at the end of it.
A random.
Oh
my god!
Luckily, I hadn't lost any limbs, so I got my tongue back.
Oh,
However, one of the other options for curing my there's a way to cure fungal infections and it is sort of similarly mixing liquids, putting it into an aerosol spray, spraying a specific part of your body after you eat a specific kind of corpse. There's like a specific way to go around by doing this. In this case, however, I could have also just chopped off my own limbs and then regrown them. And I didn't try to do that because you can also easily kill yourself.
Oh my god.
But here's some other interesting things that happened to my character before he died. My face got chopped off.
Wow. Okay.
So you can you know how you can dismember and be dismembered?
Yes.
Generally, you probably haven't been dismembered.
I haven't encountered any of that yet.
But you
have told
early on you can quite easily, if certain classes will start with an axe and the dismember skill. It's a thing you just can do straight away.
Cool.
And it just chops off a limb. You kill the thing, and there'll just be like limbs on the ground. Well, I could pick up my own face, and so I picked up my own face, and then I later managed to regrow my face.
Yeah.
And then I could equip my face over my face.
Oh my god. Oh.
And I got an achievement for that.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
I could have also potentially eaten my own face.
Wow.
Which I will eventually try to do on some character.
Eat your own face.
I literally had like 5 or 6 hands, and each of them had like high tier weapons, and I had like the multi-wielding skill, so I was doing tons
oh my
of damage.
god. Yeah.
It was a very strong character.
Wow.
I got kind of greedy and also got a bit screwed by teleportation.
Yeah, that's rough.
That game is great.
What was it? You annoyed some NPCs, right?
Yeah, I think I must have killed some allies of theirs, or maybe. Oh no, it might have also been because I was like too fungally. I don't know. There's like lots of different ways that you're.
I've had a occasion where walked into an area and I was fighting a snapjaw.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of purple birds around.
Yep.
And the guns can miss.
Yep.
And it hit one stray bullet hit one of the birds, and then all the birds in the area were just hostile to me.
Yep.
And that was a pain.
Yep. That'll happen.
I didn't want to kill those birds, but that left me no choice.
You had to.
But as a bird myself, I didn't want to do it.
Generally, if you encounter like a purple birds might not be one thing. If something is pink, there's like a lot of pink things. Like the glowfish, for example, are pink by default.
Yes.
But there are a lot of animals that are not meant to be pink, and you can occasionally find a pink one.
Well, there's a pink cat in the town, or a purple cat.
That is not what I'm talking about. But there are legendary creatures, and they'll usually be pink versions of those creatures.
Okay, cool.
And they can usually talk to you.
Yeah.
And you can usually do like the water ritual with them.
Yeah.
And trade with them. And if you kill them, reputations will shift drastically.
Yep.
Usually with their tribe and some other tribes, positive and negative.
What I think is interesting too about that is like I gained like a high rep with Jopa.
Yep.
But as you're doing that,
spend it.
Oh yes, actually spending it that's actually a really cool. Yeah. I really like that you can spend your rep on things at that town. But as my rep was going up, as you do those water things, it tells you that your rep with other things are going down.
Yes.
So there's just like other villages that are like or factions somewhere that don't like them.
Yes. Yeah, it's very complex.
That's pretty interesting to me.
I think there's a way to sort of know in advance. If you look at someone, it'll say liked by the villagers of Joppa for helping them in a time of need, hated by the turtles because they poisoned their mom or whatever it is. And
the turtles are always hostile to me. Is that just a thing? Or is that just
you can start off. So there's
I wonder if being a bird person, it's like they're just a natural enemy.
It's possible, but I know, for example, there's a carapace mutation.
Yeah.
Which means you can no longer wear body armor, but you have a shell.
Oh yeah.
And you will be friendlier with turtles.
Oh, funny.
By default. So but you have a beak.
Yeah.
And you have wings, and so you're going to be friendlier with birds.
Yeah.
And so
those
birds you murdered would probably have murdered you anyway if you weren't beaked.
Oh right, I see. I'm also really friendly with birds now because I bought some feathered shoes that increased reputation with birds, and I got a little pop-up, a little achievement saying like exalted reputation or something.
Wow.
So I seem to be pretty high.
That's
with
pretty
the birds.
cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about domination.
Right.
This is
yeah.
an ability I've only really just started barely experimenting with it.
Okay.
It's really hard to use.
Yeah.
And it costs 5 mutation points at the start of the game, so it's really expensive. I think from my reading, it's like the most powerful thing in the game. So the way it works is there's some sort of test between 2 stats. It might be ego, it might be willpower.
Yeah.
And if you pass, you take control of the person you're dominating for a long time. Like we're talking 200, 300, 400 turns.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's ages.
And it makes your normal body just stand there. And if you take any damage in your normal body, your domination ends.
Yep.
However, if you're not taking damage, you can control the person you're dominating just as you would your normal character.
Wow.
Which means, but that person you're dominating maintains all of their stats. So if you were to take control of a Snapjaw, it would be friendly with other Snapjaws.
Oh.
So you could walk around, you could talk to other Snapjaws.
Oh, that's cool.
They won't attack you on sight.
Yeah.
But you can start fights with them if you want.
Yep.
And then they'll probably kill you.
Yeah.
And if you die in your domination,
I
believe it snaps back to your body, but you don't get any experience from like dying.
And
However,
for listeners, the Snapjaws are like little cobalt little guys, right?
Yeah,
like
I think
little dog men or something.
Yeah, little dog guys.
Yeah.
Like
like sentient beings. They're not.
There's some interesting mechanics here. If you dominate someone, you can attack your own body if you want.
Yeah.
And as soon as you take damage, it'll snap back to you, and that domination ends. And that guy might still be hostile to you.
Yeah.
However, if you're on like low health or the thing you're dominating is crazy strong, and you one shot yourself, you kill yourself in one hit.
Do you stay in that body?
You stay in the new body.
No way! Holy hell!
Forever.
Whoa!
Another thing you can do is if you dominate a body that has the domination skill and then dominate another body, you are lost.
Oh. What?
You become stranded in the new. You can't go back to your original body unless I think maybe you dominate it again.
So what do you do?
You're just stuck into the new body or the previous body. Like if you chain dominate, it starts cutting the threads from
oh, I see.
So,
I see.
So like the timer no longer becomes relevant.
Whoa.
But there are ways to really exploit this basically. Because if some characters have really boosted base stats. And now, when you like proselytize or whatever, there's certain skills that will let you make allies with characters.
Yeah.
And you're running around, you're doing adventuring, you're killing monsters and getting experience. They're getting experience too, and they can level up. But what they can't do is assign abilities or spend attribute points or mutation points.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they get like I think they get some base like health boosts, and they'll get like base all attribute boosts at certain levels.
Yep.
But you're missing significant portions of their power.
Right.
If you dominate them, you can assign their points, and then you can go back to your own body. But the other way of looking at this is if you dominate someone with really high base stats and then take over their body permanently, you can just use a crazy powerful person for the rest of the game.
Wow, that's cool.
So this is like the most powerful thing in the game.
Yeah.
There's also ways to just use it to get rid of like tough guys. You dominate like a really strong guy and then walk him into lava, for example.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
So there's just ways to use the skill. I have barely touched scratched the surface of it, but it's crazy how much you can do with just this one skill.
That's incredible. I like the idea of being lost,
stranded in someone else's body,
and you like. So when you're in somebody else's body, can you then dominate to somebody else? Or did they have to have
the domination skill.
Oh, I see.
And some of them do.
Yeah.
There are certain characters that have domination.
So you could become some kind of weird lost soul that is just hopping from body to body, hoping to find his way back.
Yep. And if you've seen the trailer, there's like a spray. The thing where they talk about spraying a can of aerosol brain onto a door and becoming a door.
Yeah.
This is how you do it.
Oh.
It's like the aerosolized brain basically bestows consciousness on an object.
Right.
And any biologically conscious object can be dominated.
So that's how you become a door.
Yeah. Now you can't dominate robots, and you find a lot of robots.
Okay.
In the game, but there are other ways. I think you can take control of robots.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. I don't know the intricacies of those mechanics.
Right. It's probably like some tinkering or something like something down there. How do you get domination? Is it in one of the?
It's just one of the starting mutations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a mutation. So, and we've only talked about the mutant side.
Yeah.
Of the game. There's a whole Truekin side of the game.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't Well,
So
I didn't go down that.
I've barely played Truekin.
Yeah.
My understanding is mutants have worse starting stats and a worse starting state.
Yeah.
But because of the way mutation works, you can become more powerful by endgame.
Yeah, like a
Truekin,
monster with 1,000 arms and
Yeah.
1,000 weapons.
Truekin start with higher starting stats, and they
Mm.
get some benefits. There are certain those those like injectable things, syringes or whatever they're called.
Okay. Yeah.
They are more powerful in Truekin.
Right.
Like they get extra bonuses and stuff. But Truekin can also get cybernetics.
Yeah.
And you probably haven't seen any of those, but you can get, they're basically implants, and there's like a license point system,
Okay.
which basically sets the limit of what you can attach to your body.
Yep.
And
I see.
power or whatever.
Yep.
So there you can get some mutation-ish things as a Truekin, but ultimately I think you get less.
Right.
So you have a stronger starting state,
I
a
see.
weaker end game state,
Yeah.
but you can get things like domination through implants.
Ah, cool. Yeah, yeah.
But if you want domination, you can just make a character and start with domination,
And just
or
yeah.
spend your mutation points and get domination.
I see. Yeah.
But I think when you spend mutation points, it's a random selection of 3.
Yeah. So when I leveled up and I got to spend them, it just seemed like 3 random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you spent them, was it like your genome is excited? Choose one randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a random thing. I actually don't know what triggers that. I don't know if it's completely random or if it's at specific levels.
I thought it must have been a level up thing.
It's at level up.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's at,
But what
if it's
level?
at specific
Right.
level ups or if it's a
Yeah.
random chance at level up.
Because I think I'm level 6 now. It's only happened once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you go to your stat screen, you can also just look at your mutations and spend, I think it's 4 mutation points to get a choice of 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The excitable thing that you're talking about also ranks up a mutation
Right.
by a bunch.
Yeah.
Which is really strong.
Yeah.
In certain mutations and useless in others. Anyway,
Interesting.
that game,
It's
so
pretty
much
great.
to it. You've literally only seen maybe 1% of the game. So far?
Man, it's cool. I really quite like it. Yeah, it's. I know that there's so much to it, and it's like I'm really kind of taking it slow. Like like I've only just for the first time used the world map because I was just going from like screen to screen, and then it was like, oh yeah, there's the world map, and now I'm gotten used to that.
Yeah.
But I know that there's like the UI, there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, I don't really know what this stuff means yet. Like,
it has quite an interesting. We've talked in the past about how games like Mount and Blade have this sort of organic growth that is really satisfying, where you start off a weak little loner, and by the end you have an army of 1,000 sieging a castle, and it's sort of gradual.
Yeah.
Case of Cut has a similar vibe in that you start off feeling so fragile, and you will die so many times at the start of the game. And the way you're navigating the game is very different in the early game than it is in the late game. By the time my character died, I was using the world map a lot. I was flying all over the place. I was completing all sorts of quests. I had so much water. I was taking on tons of different dudes. Getting so many different diseases, losing so many different tongues.
Losing limbs, growing them back, more limbs.
And yet I also knew that like I was in the mid game. Like I know that it gets crazier from there.
Wow.
And I know.
That's so cool.
I got teleported 27 layers underground.
Yeah.
Like the deepest I'd ever manually gone underground was maybe 6.
Wow.
And so like I know it is functionally infinite.
Yeah.
To go deep.
Yeah.
Although the generation starts getting weird at certain layers. Like after like layer 40 or 50, it starts getting real weird and you get not good results.
Oh, really? Wow.
But the fact that every playable screen in the map can go even 40 layers deep.
Yeah, is wild.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's all randomly generated. I mean, not all of it, but like the majority of it is randomly generated and populated.
Yeah.
With often very interesting and engaging things. It's a very impressive game.
Yeah.
I really like it.
It's cool. I'm into it. I do like just exploring currently, like not using the world map. That's partly why I haven't used it so much, is because I feel like I want to explore, the actual thing. And the only reason I used it was to like maybe there's a village that I can
Yeah.
get some bullets at.
I honestly think that's the right way to go about it, especially for the first like even 10 hours of the game.
Yeah.
And especially like until you understand the game a lot better,
Yeah.
it's much more fun and engaging to do that.
Yeah.
I started using the overworld, I think, quite late, and only because I was like, great, I think I'm comfortable. If I get lost, I don't think I'm gonna die immediately.
That's cool. What happens? So what happens when you get lost? You
When you
can't
get
go
lost-
back to the world map, right?
That's right.
For a while.
It drops you into the gameplay screen,
Yeah.
like the main
Yeah.
gameplay screen, and it's like you can't go back to the overworld screen until you regain your bearings.
Right.
And the way that works is you just have to start walking around, and every
Yeah.
time you load into a new area, there's a chance you regain your bearings,
Oh.
or
Yeah.
you can talk to an NPC,
Oh, yeah.
which you can randomly find,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, "Oh, you're here,"
Oh, cool.
and you'll be like, "Okay,
Are
great."
you ever like miles off track? You know, like if you're going from say you're just going straight north
Yeah.
and you get lost, will you end up like a completely different part of the map?
No, I think so. So every pixel, every square, whatever, in like the overworld screen is a 3x3 grid of screens in the gameplay screen.
Yeah.
And I think the way it works is when you get lost, it'll drop you into one of those random
I see.
3x3
Yeah, yeah.
screens.
Yeah.
In the pixel that you got, in the square that you got lost.
I see. Yeah.
So you're never like crazy off base.
Yeah. So you kind of know if you were heading to a town that's north,
Yeah.
you can kind of know I'll just head north and
Yep.
hopefully find.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
And on top of that, if you get lost near where you are familiar with,
Yeah.
if you've been to like areas in the area in the general vicinity,
Mm.
I think you can go back to one of those old screens and you'll automatically.
Oh,
regain your
right. Yeah,
bearings.
yeah.
You'll be like, oh, I recognize the spot.
Yep.
I know exactly where I am, and
That's
then you're
cool.
fine.
Yeah. It's cool, man. I like the game. I really
Good.
like it.
I had a feeling you would. I was playing it and I was like, this feels like a Blake
Yeah.
game.
There's one thing that slightly bugs me, and it's an art thing. Is like, are all the caves just stairs that go down? Like, I mean, the cave entrances are they all just like stairs going down?
No.
Okay.
The majority are, but there are also
Inside the cave that doesn't bother me. But
Okay.
when you're walking along and you just see a staircase that goes down, that like bugs me because I'm like, what is this?
sometimes there are pits,
Oh,
and
okay.
you can fall down them.
Oh,
And also you haven't seen it yet, but you're gonna see it pretty early on. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is a huge spoiler. There's a place called like the Rust Wells.
I have I've seen them on the world map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go there, I was quite impressed by this.
Yeah.
If you go there, there are like it's basically the level you're on will be like sort of a big ring shape,
Right.
and you
yeah.
can see down into the next layers,
Oh,
all the way down to the very bottom.
wow.
And if you try and walk over there, you'll just fall to the next.
Yeah.
Like you'll basically fall down a cliff.
Yeah.
So you can. It is functionally a pit, but you can see everything in the pit below.
Okay.
And in fact, there are areas in the underworld, like in the caves,
Yeah.
where this is true as well. Like where the pit isn't just a 1x1 square; it is like some random like 3x7 shape,
Yep.
and you can see stuff happening below.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. In
I
fact,
cannot picture what that looks like with the art.
it's just
I'm gonna
kind
have
of,
to
it's
see
like
it
grayed out.
Yeah.
You can see like monsters, and you can attack monsters
Wow,
from above and
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Anyway,
Does it bug you that your character does not switch like
Switch
faces
orientation.
for the direction that it's moving?
Literally, I hadn't considered it until you mentioned that. So no, I guess the answer is no. It doesn't bother me even a little bit.
You know, like you're walking to the left, but your character is facing to the right.
I wish that there were bump maps. You know, I was just where's the
Yeah, where's the parallax and the this game should have some parallax map.
where's the diffusion? huh?
Yeah.
Where's the
They do-
subsurface scattering?
It is funny how like nice the game can actually look though. Like if
There
you
are some genuinely beautiful places.
what so you
There
on the main screen.
yeah.
What level of zoom are you playing at?
I zoom all the way out.
Yeah. I started close, and as I've played more, I've zoomed it
Yeah.
further and further out, and I feel like that gets you. I mean, obviously, it gets a better sense of the surroundings, but
Yeah.
the way they do the like field of view.
Yes, the shadows and lights.
Yeah, is really, really cool. And you
Yes.
don't really appreciate that until it's like
Until zoomed
zoomed
out,
quite far out, and you look through some trees and you can see like, you know, your line of sight through the trees,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
their beams going through.
Yes,
It's very cool.
It's really good. It's really
Yeah.
effective. But the first time I played, I did not understand that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And I was covered in slime.
Oh.
I was walking through a slime like bog
Yeah.
basically, and it was nightfall was coming, and
Yeah.
I didn't have a torch equipped,
Oh.
and so as like the light radius
no.
was getting lower and lower, I thought, oh no, the slime has made me blind. I need to get all the slime off of me, and I was like running around trying to get the slime off, which causes time to pass.
Yeah.
And so then the sun started coming out, and so
Yeah.
vision started growing, and I was like, oh, it's working. All the slime is coming off, and I can see again.
That's funny.
Um,
It is cool that without a torch, it is absolutely pitch black. Like you literally cannot see.
Yeah.
And I only realized that with like a few ways in about the day-night cycle.
Yeah.
That when your view radius gets really small,
Yeah.
I just make a camp and wait for morning.
Okay.
Because I can't be bothered exploring with this like tiny ass little radius.
I slap a torch on, or I just keep
Keep going.
Slap-
I mean, I was
hit auto explore.
Oh,
Let
God.
the tiny
Yeah,
radius do
hit
its work.
auto explore. Yeah, yeah.
It's a great game.
It's cool. There's no sleep though, because I thought like in my head I was like,
Yes,
oh, you
there
make
is.
there is. Is it just wait?
No.
There's an actual sleep, but how? Oh, do you have to go to a bed or something?
There are beds, bedrolls. You can even I think you can pick up bedrolls and carry them with you, and you can buy them and stuff.
Okay.
I don't think there's much of a benefit for it.
No, I don't think there
it's-
is either, other than just like
It is just a matter of I
Skipping.
think waiting to a specific time.
yeah, because
Um,
I mean that's all I really wanted, and I always cook meals even though I don't. I'm not
Aren't necessarily
hungry.
hungry?
Yeah, it's every time I
That's
make
fine.
a campfire, cook a meal, and I do like that. You can just scrounge up, like it says, you just scrounge up stuff from around you to make it. I like that.
I love it gets weird though. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's sometimes it is accurate to the things around you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is random. And it'll be like you've cooked a pugilist's face and a pugilist's face and a vine wafer. And I'm like,
Yum.
I've never even seen a pugilist. What are you talking about? Where did I get two of their faces?
Lying around.
Why am I eating them?
But I like that, and I'm guessing you can make actual recipes.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
You can in the first town in Joppa, you
Yeah.
can get a vine wafer and star apple recipe.
Oh yeah.
By exchanging some reputation.
Yep.
But you need the cooking skill.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That you won't be able to do anything with it unless you
Right,
have the cooking
yeah.
skill.
I also took the harvest skill
Yes, harvest is great.
because I found a orchard with plucked a load of apples.
Yep.
It's great. It's
Auto
cool, man.
Explorer will collect
We'll just do that for
apples
you.
and vine vapors from
Yeah.
everything
But
on the
first,
map.
this is the thing is that first I need to know that that's what's happening.
Yes.
Like I need to do it myself before the.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
You're playing the correct way, Blake.
Yeah. Thank you for once.
For once, you were playing. But also in true Blake fashion, you started a bunch of new characters without dying, instead of having any sort of goal or going towards the end of the game. You just want to keep re-rolling, just like Civ.
Yeah, just like Civ. Just
Good
like
job.
Civ, and just like Baldur's Gate. I was like, oh man, I want to make it, and other like what was the Pathfinder one. I made a bunch of other characters, basically play them for 10 minutes.
It's what's really funny to me about this is I think the actual default game mode for Caves of Cud, which is permadeath,
Yeah,
is probably more suited to your playstyle than the one you've chosen.
it probably is. It might be. It might be.
You're like, you know what?
Because I'm acting as if
I
it's
really
permadeath.
like re-rolling characters. I'm going to choose the mode that is permanent. That locks me into one character forever.
But I want to decide when I'm tired of that character.
It's fair. That's fair.
I want to decide when I feel like I've won.
Yeah. All right. We are well out of time. If you want to ask us about Caves of Cud or anything in this episode, email frontseatquestion@gmail.com or post a question, comment on our YouTube page, etc. We're on Spotify, iTunes, all the podcast apps. You can follow us on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, X, which, you know what?
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. But also,
I might get rid of it.
yeah,
I might get rid of it.
You know, I'm going to be political for a second. I'm not a fan of the things happening
No.
around that whole.
I don't think many people are.
Yep.
Even people that, well, whatever.
Yep. Anyway, leave us a like or just, talk to us.
Yep.
We love hearing from you. Love answering your questions.
Mm-hmm.
We've got so many great questions and comments. Some of them are just too long to read out, but we do read them all.
Mm-hmm.
And we love you, and we'll be back.
All right.
Bye!
It something did occur to me last week, because I've been playing Enshrouded a lot.
Yeah.
And I have been more motivated and more interested in decorating this house I made than actually going out and playing the game.
Yeah, you're doing level design in your house.
Yeah, and I was sitting there last weekend
Environment art in your house.
doing environment art in this house I'd made.
Yeah.
And I was like rotating books around things, and I was like, just flashbacks of working on library and Templar Courts.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. But I got such enjoyment out of it. And my friends were like, hey, let's go for an adventure. I'm like, I just want to...
I want to decorate my house.
I just want to do this.
I want to do work. Well, all right. Should I clap? Should I clap properly?
Do a non-wet clap.